Hey everybody, in this video I want to show you guys how to fix your AC Anywhere adapter for the cigarette lighter in your car into a 15 volt alternating current with 2 or 3 prongs depending on what kind of adapter you have. This one here is made by Belkin, but I'm pretty sure they all work just about the same. In this tutorial specifically, I'm going to show you guys how to replace the power switch here, which sometimes it will come loose on the inside and won't make the connection between the electrodes that it needs to, and that will cause the power switch to always be off, or there'd be no current actually running through it. So yeah. Anyways, the tools that you're going to need for this are mainly just a screwdriver. Now, if it happens to be a bigger problem than we think it is, then you're going to need wire cutters, a light switch, which I didn't get, but y'all know what a light switch looks like, so you're going to need one of those. If you want to get really technical, you can get a soldering iron like this, and some solder wire, but I'm pretty sure all that's come loose on this is the electrodes, so we'll just shove them back in there and it'll be good to go. So anyways, let's get started. First thing you're going to do is take out the 2 screws. You can't really see them, but there's one here and one here, and we're just going to take those out really quick, so I'll cut that in the video to where it's done. Okay, so now we have our 2 back screws out. We'll just I'll just put them over here. Hopefully I don't knock those off. The next 2 are either in the left or right side. They're pretty much in the same place on both sides. One here and one here, and we're just going to take those out, and I'll skip that in the video as well. Alright, so now that we have these 2 little screws out, what I'm going to have you do is, I guess, put them in a little separate pile from the other ones, because you'll notice that they're a bit shorter than the ones that were in the back, and you don't want to confuse those when you put this back together, otherwise they won't really fit right. We can take this panel away. You can't really take it off because it's been soldered here, or maybe welded, I don't know, to the actual power output. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to flip this around and take out these screws here, on here and here, and then we'll be able to take that bottom panel off. Alright, so now we have these 2 little screws out as well. They're about the same size as the other ones, so it doesn't matter if you get these confused, really. Just make sure you don't mix them up with those longer ones. You can take this side off just a tiny bit. It doesn't really come off very far because they're connected as well. But that doesn't really matter because we're going to take this all apart here in a minute. You can now flip it over to the bottom, and this bottom faceplate here just kind of slides out. There is a piece of cardboard with this. Do not lose that. What this does is it keeps this metal plate here from connecting any of the little circuits on the board, and if any of these connect, then it will short out and it will fry, and you'll never ever see it work again. So yeah, make sure you don't lose that. Now that we've actually taken these back screws out already, what we can do is just kind of lift this up and try and separate these 2 sides and just pull this out of here like this, and lift it over like this way. Alright, so now we can actually see our motherboard with all the little electrodes running through it and everything like that. And this light here, the green one, remember, is the one that shows that it actually has power running through it, and the red one is what comes on when there's too much, I guess, electrical pull for the battery to be able to push through that. So yeah. let's see. So the next thing you're going to want to do, since the problem here is probably with your power switch right here, we're going to need to take that out. So there's only really one way to get this out other than disconnecting it from the motherboard, which we don't want to do, and that is to basically push this from the bottom up through the top with our thumbs like this, and it should just pop out and come through the other side. You will need to bend these little electrical wires here. I don't know if you can see those. That there's two wires that are coming out. You need to bend those together a little bit to be able to fit it through a little square hole. And there we go. So now we have it through. I'm sorry that my hands are kind of blocking your view. So these electrodes here are what carry the current to the switch, and depending on whether the switch is on or off, it carries the rest of the current through. So if you have the power switch off, then that green light won't come on, depending on whether one of your AC adapters has a secondary like power cable, which tells it that it has power but it's not switched on. Mine obviously doesn't. So anyways, so the first thing we're going to try and do is move these wires around a little bit, like kind of make sure they're in line, and push them into the box a little bit further, until you can get that nice clicking noise from the power switch. And if you can't hear the noise, at least try and be able to feel the resistance of the connector being pushed from on to off. And I don't know, I don't think you guys can hear that, but obviously mine is now good to go. These electrodes were loose. If the power switch was actually faulty and there was no, I guess, connection being made no matter what we would do is we'd take these electrodes here and cut them off. Be very careful with this. Definitely make sure it's not plugged in. And you want to cut these as close to the actual switch as possible, not the cords, because you want as much metal. Whoops. You want as much metal to work with as you can. Let's see. So cut them basically as close to the switch as you can, and then you would just take your soldering gun and solder, or you could take some electrical wire or anything like that. Or even glue, I guess, and you could glue these pieces of metal here to the screws on a light switch, and then just screw the screws in real tight, as tight as you can, and then the light switch will actually act as the carrier for the current. I don't know if you could fit a light switch in there. I haven't tried, but if you can't, just wire it to the outside of the box. It's fine. And I guess now I'll show you how to put it back together. This part's really not that hard. So I'll just work real quick, but I'll walk you through it as I go. So the first thing is to put the button back, because remember that's the last thing we took out. Pretty much just push it back in there the same way you put it in. Make sure the electrodes are still good to go when you put it back in there. There we go. And that is good. So let's see. Now we can flip it over upside down like this, and let's see, put this chip back in here, and make sure all these little bits of metal are out of the way. Back in. What you need to do is align these little power lights here with the holes that they came through in the top casing, so that they don't break off when you shove the motherboard back up in there. So let's see if I can get these aligned. Kind of push on it while you're realigning them. That way, as soon as they get in line, they'll just go right up in there. And there we go. So now, and you can tell if it's not going in, it just won't go in. It's actually really easy to fit this in here. So if it's resisting, then you know that they're not in line. But now we got the little power lights back in. I don't think you can see those. But anyways, now we can start screwing things back together. I'll change it up on this and make it the first thing that you took off is actually going to be one of the first things you put back on, because these are more important to realign than anything else. So this little piece of metal that's in the back here, right here, we're going to need to screw that in first. So hold it up to the actual plate in the back, the actual casing, while you put your screws in there, and then just screw them in. And I'll skip the screwing them in part because everyone knows how to do that. Alright, so now we have the two back screws in. That was a bit troublesome because of how you have to align the motherboard, or the back piece of the motherboard, up to the same holes that you're screwing into. So I guess what you guys should probably do is push on the motherboard with your thumb, and push on this this metal back plating in here at the same time with your finger like this. And while you do that, try and align it and screw it in, and it should work a lot better, a lot easier. So now we have the back plate screwed on, or I guess the top cover. What we can do is now place this piece of cardboard back, let's get that out of the way, back on here like this. And it really doesn't matter whether the white side or brown side's up, it doesn't matter. And let's slide this plate back in. This is really easy part. So now that we have that plating on there, try and make sure that it's lined properly and everything. You definitely don't want to fuck it up on the back of the motherboard, and that's fine. So yep, now we can start working on these side platings. So all we got to really make sure about is we don't I guess pinch the wires, because they're really important, that you don't pinch the wires. If you do, it'll act kind of like a hose with water running through it, and it will fray the wire on the inside, and the electricity won't flow through the wire as well. But once you have these in here and you have the correct screws, just go ahead and line up the holes and start it off a little bit with your hand, and then later on we'll finish that off with the screwdriver. So I'll go ahead and skip this. Alright, so now that we have the input side, or input plate, put back on there, we'll just flip it over and finish off the last side. This side should be the easiest because it's got the less or the least amount of wire, so it should be really easy. Just line it up and start it off with your fingers, and then when you have that screwed in all the ways, we can switch to the other side and start this side off as well. If you cross thread it, don't worry, just unscrew it and screw it back in again. And for those of you that don't know what that is, cross threading is basically where you put the screw in there a little bit crooked, and the thread or the little grooves are across each other, so it won't screw in all the way if you cross thread it. So there we go, and there we go. So that is now done, and it should work. So yep, you can go plug that in, and the green light should come on, and you could test it with the case off. All I ask that you make sure is that you don't let any of the metal casing touch the motherboard, anywhere on the motherboard that there's metal, because it will create a short, and you'll either short out the car, or this, most likely just this, could start a fire, I don't know, and it will never work. So anyways, if it doesn't work, then you probably have an actual hardware problem, like it's fried. So try it with a light switch, and if that doesn't work, then you have a motherboard issue. And if you have a motherboard issue, then I would suggest just buying a new one, because I don't think you'll be able to find an AC Anywhere motherboard anywhere on the internet. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial, and I'll see you next time.